Got to give a little, take a little, and let your poor heart break a little. That's the story of, that's the glory of love.
That is so cheesy. That was so cheesy. Sorry everyone.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking on this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name is Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, coming to you live from Budapest, Hungary for episode 126 of Simon and Acty Movie Reviews. And I'm here with my beautiful, sexy, gorgeous, white wife.
Wow.
Say hi, boo.
Hi everyone, I'm Acty, I'm from Turkey, and today we are reviewing Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Yes, this is the 1967 rom-com dramedy, I would also say, about a black doctor who falls in love with a young white woman and goes to meet her parents, and the drama ensues because the black doctor is in the 1960s America, and he's asking the parents' approval for this marriage that most people do not see coming, right? So as you can tell, we're in an interracial relationship, and I think this film resonates in a lot of ways with us, at least for me. The way I was watching it, it definitely moved me. It was a very fun watching experience, very tense watching experience, and this is the first Sidney Poitier film that we're reviewing together, which is why I broke out this suit, and I want this review to be perfect, and I want us to really dive deep in talking about this film because it's so pertinent for us. But how did you feel after we watched it last night?
Yeah, I mean, you know, like you said, we're an interracial couple, and we're also like an intercultural couple. And even though our journey was like different from their journey, there was definitely times where I think we both related in the story. And overall, it's a very enjoyable movie. It's like quirky at times, it's serious at times, it's like dramatic at times. And the acting is really good. It does have flaws, so I would say like you shouldn't like just go into it blindly, and you should make your own judgments while you're watching it. But overall, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
What I think also makes this movie so great is that it relates to an experience that millions of people have had who have been in love, but they come from different backgrounds and maybe different, skin pigmentations. It's the classic Romeo and Juliet type of story, but made more relatable. Like, nobody has to die in the end. There's not a blood feud between the families, but there is, this idea that, how close should people get in their relationships to other groups of people? Like, are we going to intermarry with each other? Are we going to be accepting if our families do join? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why, because if you're a black guy in the UK, in 1980, or a white woman in France in like 1970 who just so happened to fall in love with somebody of the opposite race, which is a social construct, by the way, this story relates to you as well. So it's like a very real and relatable story, I would say. You know what I mean? Yeah,
definitely. And I think also the reality comes from that, like, the white family is not some conservative, racist family. Like, the white family is supposed to be liberal. They're advocating for, like, race rights and all of those things. But, like, when it comes to their own family and own daughter, then that's where they, like, have a question mark.
Yeah.
And I think that also makes it like very relatable as well. It's not just some cheesy story.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this film, like you said. Like, it tackles this issue from the angle of, like, the people who are the most accepting of, like, other groups of people. How true is that really? You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, I might say I'm a pro-trans rights person. But if my son wanted to change his gender, how much would I really be on board? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's a real push of, like, what it means to move forward and be progressive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And, like, that for me, it's like, and I told you this last night while we were watching it, like, it rings so true because I really had to question some of the things I believed in previously after I met you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I always thought, like, oh, I'm not racist, I accept everybody, da-da-da. But when it comes to, like, those particular things that are, like put in your core by the white supremacist world and media, you're not even aware of those things until you're faced with them. And yeah, I think that's why also like this movie related to me as well.
It also is the same with me. Like when I met you, you know, there's so much I've learned from you, and I've grown while being with you, and I've, you know, gained bigger understanding of the world, you know, while being with you as well. I hope that I could try to teach you anything or like share with you my views and stuff like that, but it works both ways. That's how, you know, relationships should work, I think, you know.
Yeah, that's the story of, that's the glory of love.
Okay. All right. But yeah, let's get into the actors in this thing. Of course, the film is helmed, I would say, by Sidney Poitier, though the other actors and actresses in this film as well are I believe, remarkable. We have Spencer Tracy, who plays Matt Drayton, the father of Joanne, the young white woman that John Wade Prentice, the doctor, is going to marry. We have Katharine Hepburn, who does a remarkable performance. I would argue either like equally as strong as Sidney's or even slightly better as Christina Drayton, the mother of Joanna, and Catherine Houghton, who plays Joanna Drayton as well. There are also several other, you know, actors, but those are the four main ones who are the comprisers of this story, I would say. But how did you feel about the acting?
Yeah, I think overall everyone was really good. Sidney Poitier was really, really good. Like, he did capture that like discomfort, definitely, like even as, you know, I guess someone you might expect to relate more to the other side, to the white side, I felt like his discomfort a lot, which was really good. And I think he's like a very natural actor, because I feel like some of the scenes, like when he meets his dad in the movie, his own dad, I feel like he wasn't supposed to laugh at that scene, but like he just did it so naturally that they put it in the movie.
The scene when, you know, John Wade Prentice, the black doctor, meets his father at the airport with his mother and says, "Dad, this is my girl." You know what I mean? He meets like Joanne, and the father's jaw is like on the floor. Yeah.
And in that scene, like everyone is so serious, and he's the only one who's laughing, but it's like this uncomfortable laugh. So but it fits into the scene.
But the thing is, like, it's so real for everybody who's playing it, because this isn't, you know, 2025 actors playing a film in 1967. Like, these are black men who have lived through some shit in 1967 filming this scenario, which adds more realness to the events that are happening. You know what I'm saying? It was so authentic, I would say. Definitely a natural actor, but also a very poised and dignified man. Like, there's a certain grace Sidney Poitier has on screen that just makes you feel like that's somebody special. You know what I'm saying? It's like Denzel and Sidney Poitier both have this certain grace and charisma on screen that just emanates and radiates, that makes you say, yo, that person is special.
Yeah, it's like that it factor.
Yeah, that certain X, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
but I just have to say also, like you said, Katharine Hepburn, she made me wet.
Okay.
I think it was also her character.
Yes.
And like that strong but also sensitive woman, sensitive gangsta.
Yeah.
As Amaya would say from Love Island.
The interesting thing about Christina Drayton's character is that she walks this fine line between like this new age liberated woman, because she's a business owner, you know what I'm saying? And but also at the same time, she's like the traditional housewife in a certain ways, like, because she, you know, has to be at home and be, you know, the counsel to her man. She lets her partner, you know, Matt Drayton, tell her, shut up and you're coming with me. It's like, you know, there's also scenes that give you the impression like, you know, she knows when to be boss lady and when to be like the submissive woman under patriarchy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying that's what, it was very real and relatable for that time. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, she is a working woman. She's not a stay-at-home mother. She owns like an art gallery and sort of like works a bit outside of the space. But yeah, I think that's very, I think for that time, it's like a liberated woman for that time.
As liberated as you could be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we're going to talk about all the characters in the story in depth. Let's get into it. So the movie opens up with Sidney Poitier and Katharine Hepburn, their characters, walking through the airport. They've just landed in California, in San Francisco, and they're hugged up, smiling, walking arm in arm. They go and pick up their luggage. They go into the taxi, and in the back seat of the taxi, they're making out viciously in front of this old white man taxi driver who's just looking through the rear view mirror like, with his eyebrow raised and stuff like that. And I think every scene in here is very intentional and very symbolic. But I don't know, what did you think about the opening sequence when we just see them interacting with each other and in love,
Yeah, I think like just that beginning scene with the taxi driver, it's like the taxi driver symbolizes kind of like what the society thinks, right? But you can see like, for the most part, they don't really care what the society thinks because they're okay and without a care, like having to make out in the back of the taxi without like really thinking of the white taxi driver. So for me, it gives that a bit so you can see there is like that wildness in them for that time. And maybe it also comes from being in San Francisco, it's like a more, I would say, liberal city. So yeah, like I think that's what it kind of represents. But no matter like how nonchalant they can be, the society will still have an eye on them.
Yeah, exactly. I think the airport scene when they're walking through is very intentional in the sense that airports are like international hubs. You walk into an airport, you see all different types of people you don't usually see. You see all different types of couples you don't usually see. And you notice when they're walking through the airport, they're not really getting stared at. There's not anybody making a big fuss about them. There's like a bunch of little kids walking behind them when they're going down the escalator, and the kids aren't making any sort of big deal about the fact, hey, this black guy just kissed this white girl in front of me, you know what I'm saying? I feel like the airport symbolized the future, internationalism, multiculturalism, and all that sort of stuff. And then when they transition to the taxi and the taxi driver looks up and is like, huh? Then that's when you're hit with back in the real world, you know what I'm saying? So it's very similar to like what you said, like the taxi driver symbolizes what society thinks, because most taxi drivers, they're like salt of the earth type people, not very educated, sometimes even very conservative. So but
that's definitely a very good take, like the contrast of the airport and the taxi. And then the first stop they make when they make it to San Francisco is they stop by Joanne's mother's art gallery, right? Because she wants to say hi to one of her mother's employees who is also her friend. And I forgot that character's name, but they walk in there and the lady comes up and says, "Oh, Joanne, I didn't know you were back from Hawaii so fast. And oh, who is your friend?" You know what I'm saying? She's like looking at John Wade Prentice, and he's like, "My name is John, Dr. John Wade Prentice." And she's like, "Well, do you practice here in San Francisco?" He's like, "No, I'm just passing through, and let's go." And so they leave, and the woman is obviously like, something is up here, something is not right. And in the taxi, John is telling Joanne, like, "Hey, did you tell your parents that I'm a Negro?" And she's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. They'll be just fine with it. And I don't think I should have to tell them anyway. What does it matter at all?" And John is like, "I don't even think we should be doing this." He continues to say, like, maybe we should think more about this. But she's like, no, let's go ahead and do it. So what did you think about any of those scenes? Yeah, I mean, like in the first glance, Joey or Joanne, she's like, she feels one of those people like, I don't see color. What? And and obviously you can see John is like anxious about it. He's very stressed about it because even though like she says something like, I'm the one who lived with my parents for 23 years. You don't think I know them? And it's like, yeah, you know your parents, but this is like the first time a situation like this will ever come up, most probably, So yeah, it feels a bit like two like rose-colored pink glasses. You know, that's like the way Joey is looking at the world.
Yeah.
And then John is more realistic.
Yeah. You know, as a black man who has been in a few interracial relationships, and especially when they start getting serious, you do ask that question, what will your parents think? And you ask that to your partner, right? And a lot of the times the answer is always the same. It's like, oh, you know, they won't matter, or it won't matter, or it doesn't mind. And you might say, okay. But in the back of your mind, you're thinking like, she don't really know. You know what I'm saying? Like, because once again, people can say, oh, I wouldn't care if my son or daughter married somebody pink, brown, blue, or yellow. And then a red man walks through the door, you know what I'm saying? And then the person like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? You know? So there was that. Also, you know, when you're in interracial relationships with white women, specifically in America, I would say, there's this stereotype or this thought that the white girl is dating the black dude to be rebellious against their parents. So at the beginning, I was thinking Joanne is kind of like trying to rebel against her parents or society. And that's where I thought maybe the film might go or hint at, you know what I'm saying? And also that maybe that was Joanne's underlying motive. You know what I mean? Okay. But what did you think?
I did not think about that, but I think that's like the cultural difference because... Like, in my culture, more, like, for example, even in Turkey, more people are marrying, you know, other people who are of different color, of different, like, religion, different background. But it's never like, oh, it's a rebellion thing. That's never really the thought. So my mind didn't go there automatically.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, well, just different perspectives on that.
But I can see that, like, in your country, in your culture.
No problem. So, basically, they pull up to the house in the taxi, and it's a large mansion that overlooks, you know, the San Francisco Bay, beautiful home and stuff like that. John pays the taxi driver, and the taxi driver is, like, kind of acting standoffish with him and, like, kind of disrespectful, like he didn't want to take a black man's money, or he was, like, suspicious of him, that, you know, maybe he was up to no good. And when John enters the house, Joanne is greeted by the maid who works there, whose name is Tilly. And Tilly, as soon as she sees John Prentice, her chin goes up. She becomes like very stern with him and stuff like that. And she doesn't really greet him or treat him like a guest, like you know she would a white man that came and stuff like that. And, you know, John is impressed with the house and he's looking around. And then we also get to see that there's another person who lives in the house, and it's a very light-skinned black girl named Dorothy. And there's this short little scene when John Wade says, "Who's that? And when can I see her again?" or something like that. And Joanne is like, "Come here, you big, oh, you man, you stuff." The 60s were a different time. They were a different time.
Definitely. That's not happening under my watch.
But, you know, what did you think of getting introduced to Tilly and also that brief Dorothy scene? Because she only has 2 scenes in the film, and I think there's more to that character.
So Tilly, first glance, obviously, like, she's opposed to John being there with Joey, and I didn't like that, but I gave, like, Tilly a grace, obviously, because I was like, okay, it's obviously, like, she's been with the family for a long time. Possibly Joey is like a daughter to her. So maybe she's being protective, like a motherly protection type of thing. So I wasn't, like, trying to, you know, go too deep into it, her reaction. And with Dorothy, like, because it's one of the first scenes, I was thinking, is this going to be something that's gonna continue? You know, like, Dorothy, is she gonna be like proposed to John or something? I don't know, like, I thought it would have been like we would see Dorothy again, which we didn't.
We didn't really, and I think there's more there. Now, I made a big deal about Tilly in the beginning because, you know, I think this film was trying to say through some of the ways the black characters interacted with John, that, you know, John was the uppity Negro, the disruptive one. You know what I'm saying? Like the guy that is going to cause problems for the rest of us. Because, you know, at that time for black folks, like, there was this idea of, like, you shouldn't get too ahead of yourself. yeah, we want civil rights. Yeah, we want to be equal to the white man and have the best facilities, but you shouldn't try too hard to get ahead of yourself because they'll cut you down and then cut us all down. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I think the film builds on later. And that's what I got initially from that Tilly interaction, like a kind of cold reception. And with Dorothy, I have a theory, because as soon as I saw her and Joanne said, oh, that's Dorothy's daughter, Dorothy is extremely light-skinned and Tilly is kind of a dark-skinned, unequivocally black woman. And we've seen this part of history play out in American history since the very beginning. Old white man lives in a house with a black maid. And then, oh, look what happened. Some light-skinned children just popped up. They must have magically fell down. You know the Negroes can magically reproduce. Like, I automatically thought Dorothy is Tilly's daughter with Joanne's father. I automatically thought that. I have a lot of theories in this film, but that's my primary one. But any comments on that?
I mean, you told me about your theory in the middle of the movie. And I do think it's a very solid theory. Like, I do think it's very probable because why else would Dorothy be there? Yeah. And have that, like, interaction. And then I think it also adds to, like, Tilly's hostility towards John as well because maybe she was trying to become lighter in a sense, or maybe she was forced into becoming lighter and that sort of like penetrated into her mindset.
Who, Tilly's mind?
Yes. I mean, she was forced by like the Draytons or Max Drayton to be specific, and she was maybe like, hey, you know, maybe it's better, maybe my daughter will have a better life than me, and then that's why maybe she couldn't make sense of Joey's decision as well.
Right. There's also, you know, I think another theory that Tilly was being cold to John because she was like, you don't want to be a part of this family. Get out. Get out. In a lot of ways, remember in Get Out, the maid was like, get out, something like that. You know what I'm saying? So maybe she was trying to warn them that this nice, rich, liberal San Francisco couple is not really who they are too. There's a lot of ways you can interpret this film, and I feel like the addition of Dorothy's character validates my theories because there's no reason for Dorothy to be there other than to hint at that, in my opinion. Yeah. Because her character does almost nothing else after that except another scene we'll talk about later. But anyway, moving forward in the movie, John goes into Joanne's father's study and makes a call to his parents and says, you know, Mom and Dad, I've met a girl. She's very special, but there's something you need to know about her. And I'll tell you later. Bye-bye. You know what I mean? And meanwhile, you know, Joanne meets up with her mother because her mother comes rushing in and says, Joanne, the woman from the art gallery called and said something was wrong, something terrible had happened. And Joanne said, oh, nothing's really wrong, Mom. Just sit down. I have to tell you about this wonderful man I met. His name is John Wade Prentice, and I fell in love with him as soon as I met him. It only took 20 minutes, and we've known each other for 10 days. And oh, Mom, we want to get married, but he's awfully concerned. He's concerned that you won't like him because he's a, and John Wade comes behind. Oh, there he is. Hey, John. So, and then Katharine Hepburn's character, who plays the mother of Joanne, is just like, at that moment, she has permanent tear ducts in her eyes for the rest of the film. Yeah. Did you notice that?
I was like, why is this woman always crying?
Like, she's always on the verge of tears at the end. Like, and when we first see her, she's dry-eyed, cold, steel face, blue steel. But then after that, it's, what's happening? But yeah, and then John Wade Prentice says, I'm a doctor. I think, Miss Drayton, you need to sit down before you faint. And she says, well, I don't think I'll faint, but I do think I need to sit. So what did you think of that, you know, first encounter?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, that's what we've been waiting for. And then also, I think, like, just Joanna's sort of, just her saying what everyone is thinking. Yes, right? She does that throughout the film. Weird, yes. But I think it also, like, gives a bit of relaxation. Like, she just says it, and it feels like she doesn't mean any bad intent by saying it. She's just, like, once again, she's, like, colorblind, you know? Or she's, like, blind to this thing because her family constantly thought her we're equal to the black people. White people are equal to black people. There's no superiority, and that's what she's been growing up with.
I have another theory on this film, and it's based on what you just said, that Joanne always just says what everybody's thinking. Like, for example, she tells her mom, you know, Mom, he thinks that you're not going to like him because he's a Negro. And meanwhile, he's looking at his sandwich, but he's secretly watching you. Isn't that right, John? And John's like, well, she's special, isn't she? You know what I'm saying? I have a theory. Joanne is slightly on the spectrum. Slightly autistic.
I can see that.
Now, I'm saying that because of her radical honesty, her just carefree, happy-go-lucky demeanor. Partially that could be because she's a very, very privileged white woman who's had everything in her life given. So maybe she thinks, oh, life really does have no worries. Everything ends happy and rosy. Just do what you want and be happy, right?
Yeah.
So there's part of that hippie stuff, but also maybe she doesn't understand social cues and stuff like that. What do you think about that? You're a psychologist.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely like some things that are there, like you said, not being able to like adjust to the social situation, not being able to read the social cues. I think it might be, or it might be also like Asperger's, you know, maybe like a lower level of Asperger's because it's not really that obvious.
Or debilitating.
Yeah. So I could definitely see that there because she is special. Like, you know, she's a bit of a weirdo, like in that sense that she's always happy-go-lucky.
Yeah.
But going back to that scene, like I was just very highly anticipating like what Chris would say to the whole interaction, and it was like so shocking, and it was like also just the whole like vibe of the scene is uncomfortable because you see John's uncomfortableness.
Yes.
But then everything breaks with like Joey's like, you know, out there just saying everything, and then it makes it funny. So it's like a roller coaster of emotions.
It is. But when they sit down outside, John, Joanne, and Chris, you know, they're talking and stuff like that. You know, she finds out more about him, that he's a doctor, that he's, you know, very well esteemed and respected and successful as well. And he's a lecturer in Hawaii, and he's going to be leaving soon to Switzerland. So she picks up very quickly, oh, this guy is something else. He's something different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about the big elephant in the room, the main point that people bring up, that John is special, like very, very special. He is the perfect man. Like if you could draw up what you would want your daughter to marry, you would say somebody like John.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what do you think about, you know, that part of the film? The idea that, you know, John is so perfect, you know, as a character.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like made to isolate his race. You know, everything else is so perfect, so there isn't really any other excuse that you can find. But I do think it's a bit flawed because another excuse is that they've only known each other for 10 days. So it's like, that is so weird.
I like that part of the film. I love the part of the film that highlights that it isolates his race, but it also isolates the rushedness of it, right? Which gives you a reason to, you know, kind of disagree with it. Because I'll be honest, I would disagree with this marriage too in 10 days. It doesn't matter if it's Jesus Christ. It's a bit rushed, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it's, I don't know, it also makes him like extremely likable.
Yes, but I would also say that at that time, it wasn't that uncommon. Like people got married very young and also, you know, got married quickly too. You know, it is not ideal, and I wouldn't say everybody got married in 10 days, but it wasn't uncommon to get, because it was a more traditional society back then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that is true.
But there's also the large age gap difference between them, because Joanne mentions that John was married before, but his wife and his son got killed in a car accident. He's 37 years old and she's 23. Yeah. Which is also another weird thing about their relationship.
Yeah. I mean, but I think, once again, at that time, it's probably okay. Because remember John's conversation with his parents. and they find that, she's 23, and his father says, well, that's just great, son, because, women age faster than men, so that's perfect. So it's kind of obvious, like, yeah, they're on, like, the more better side because he is the older one, but obviously it's not, like, socially condemned.
Okay. Do you think Joanne had daddy issues?
No.
By going after such an older man?
No.
Because he's he's not old enough to be her father, kind of. He's 14 years older than her, so technically, yeah, he could have been, but still.
I think, the theory, like, every man falls in love with a woman like their mom, and then vice versa for women. I think that's like that because Matt Drayton, Joey's father, he's like this intellectual, social fighter, and he's also like rich and stuff like that. And John is kind of the same. He's doing the same good things and even better at that. So, yeah, maybe I think that's what drew Joey to John, actually, that he is too similar to his father.
Okay.
Her father.
Okay, interesting take. I would just say, sometimes I think maybe a woman marrying a man that's that much older than her, 14 years. I think I would get the hint. I'm not saying it's all the time, but I would argue that maybe maybe she didn't get along with her father, had some distrust with him, disconnected from him somehow. I don't know. Just a little bit.
I mean, it doesn't seem that way in the story, and I think times.
Okay.
Those times are different.
I mean, going into my theory, I would argue that Joanne possibly knew that Dorothy was her half-sister, and she resented her father for not accepting Dorothy as her full sister. So she said, oh, Dad, you want to sleep with a black maid? Guess what I'm going to do? Guess who's coming to dinner? I don't know.
Might be.
That's my theory. I have some wild theories, and I haven't even dropped my wildest one yet. But let's get into the part where Matt Drayton shows up, the father. So the father comes in. He was just recently golfing with his pastor priest friend or whatever, and he says he walks in and Tilly's like, "Oh hell, Mr. Drayton, all hell done broke loose." And he says, "Quiet down, Tilly. What's wrong? What's the matter?" She says, "There's a man here called Dr. John Wade Prentice," and he's like, "Oh, a doctor? What's wrong?" And he walks out there and he sees John, Joanne, and Chris all sitting at the coffee table talking and stuff like that. He's like, "Hey, doctor, how are you? You practice here in San Francisco? No, you practice in Africa? Oh, okay, that's nice. Oh, you're coming for dinner? Great. We'll talk more about it at dinner." And Joanne says, you surely will be seeing him around a lot more often. And then Mr. Drayton says, "Oh, okay, I guess I will." And he starts to leave, and then he starts to undo his tie, and in the middle of undoing his tie, he's like, "Oh shit, what have I done? What's happening?" And then he comes back and he says, "You know what, I think I won't go to golf." And so he finds out, through realization that his daughter intends to marry this man. Also because John Wade stands up to him right then and there in front of the table and says, "I fell in love with your daughter and I intend to marry her." And that's what we want to do. So what did you think of Matt Drayton's introduction?
I really like his introduction because it showed a clear shift of his behavior once he knew the issue was personal. Because before that he was like, "Oh, okay, here's a nice young gentleman. I don't see race, I don't see color." And then he wants to marry my daughter. Wait, he's black. It was like that. And then I really like that transition to it, and then sort of having the same awkward moment. But then this time you sort of have John Prentice owning up to the whole situation, becoming a bit more sure of his position, I would say. So yeah, I liked that scene a lot. Yeah, I liked that scene too. Like you said, it was perfect how "Oh yeah, black man in my house, I'm fine with it. It is cool. Yeah, I show up, there's just some black guy here, he's a doctor, he says, oh yeah, he wants to marry my daughter. Wait, there's a black man in my house." And yeah, it just, like you said, it clicks for him like that. And it was once again, the acting in this thing is so natural, because once again, everybody in this film is of this time, when if this did happen, these might be their honest reactions to it. Oh,
let me take a deep inhale. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
yeah. And shall we continue in the story?
Yes.
So basically, Matt Drayton says, I need some time. And he goes into his office, and Christina comes in there as well. Drayton calls up his secretary and says, tell me what you can find on this guy, Mr. Prentice, see if he's really a doctor. And Christina then starts telling Matt Drayton, like, listen, you know, we raised our daughter right. We told her that racism was wrong. Racism is hatred. Racism is stupid. But we never said, you know, don't marry a black man. You know what I mean? And Matt Drayton also finds that, you know, John is an honest man because he also left money for the long distance phone call he made earlier too. And then John walks in and says, listen, Joanne might think that this marriage is a done deal and we're going to do it no matter what, but I'm a man of principle. If you don't approve of this message or this marriage, you know, just say goodbye and I will leave, and, you know, we'll never meet again. You know what I'm saying? So then, you know, they leave. Mm-hmm. What did you think of that scene?
Okay, so first of all, like, just that little conversation the white couple had between them, like, that showed, you know, that again, the fault in that liberal sphere, like, you know, again, you know, we never discriminated against a black person, but we didn't know that it could be like our son-in-law. And stuff like that. And if your theory is correct about Dorothy, I'm like, okay, I think this family erased Dorothy from their family, even though they live under the same roof and they call Tilly part of their family. So yeah, because it would be kind of like impossible for Christina to not know what happened.
Yeah. I think Christina could have been like many white women that lived in houses with all these light-skinned children that just so happen to look like their husband and have like a willingly blind ignorance to it. Or maybe even an acceptance to it and be like, you might have his children, but I have the man and I have his legitimate heirs. You just have the black bastards. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But anyway, like, going into John's speech and like his stance, I was in a dilemma, and at the end of the movie, my dilemma sort of like got brought up again. But there I was thinking, like, okay, I can see this black man, he understands like the social like constructions around him, you know, and he is, first of all, as a black man already struggling with racism and possibly other things. He already said basically, I have problems and I don't want you as a part of my problem. You know, I don't need this, like, I don't need racism within my own family. And that's very understandable. But at the same time, I was like, is he being a bit selfish and also like cowardly by giving up like his love, his desire for social approval or social peace? You know, is this something like bad that he's doing, or is it honorable? I was in a dilemma there, but what did you feel about it? So
James Baldwin has this famous quote where he reviewed this movie, and he said that white people love this movie because it makes them feel like the Draytons. Number one, the Draytons have power in this film. They're the ones in control, and that's the underlying thing. John Wade gives up all the power to basically white supremacy, right? And says, I will let white supremacy dictate who I love, right? So that's my answer to that type of question, right? But James Baldwin also said that black people hate this movie because no matter how perfect John Wade is, when they find out he basically cured cancer, he still might not be good enough for their lowly 23-year-old ditzy daughter. You know what I'm saying? And so... the thing about the ultimatum and the dilemma, it's problematic in and of itself if we analyze it through race, right? But if we analyze it through the idea of family bonds and respect and just the tradition of like asking for a daughter's hand in marriage through her father, which is in and of itself is patriarchal and anti-feminist. But if you analyze it through that way of just following the tradition, it's very real. It's actually very noble if we analyze it through the traditional patriarchal sense that women are property of their fathers who can be passed down and inherited to other men, which is where that tradition comes from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
because it was because I just like sort of put, and he didn't want Joey to know all of this, and that's telling too, because why would you don't want her to know? Because I felt like, for example, if my parents didn't approve of us, and if you just gave up, then that would, make me feel really sad. Especially if I am telling my parents, you can't tell me anything. I love this man, and I'm going to marry this man.
Right.
And then you're the one who's giving up at the end of that. Like, that would just make me feel really terrible.
Well, that goes to a major question in this film that comes up later, but do children owe their parents any sort of respect when it comes to picking who they want to marry and love, right? I would argue no. I think most people would say that you have your own individual life that you did not choose to have, and therefore you can sort of do most things with it as long as they don't harm other people. And if other people don't like your choices, they have the right to not interact with you, right? And so if Joanne's parents chose not to help or support their daughter's lifestyle because she married a black man, that would be I think an ignorant and immoral type of choice, but it would be their right to make that choice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But anyway, go ahead. What do you think?
I mean, I agree. I don't think like children owe their parents this responsibility of choosing who they're going to marry and love. But I do think naturally most children do value their parents' opinion if they have a healthy enough relationship.
Right. Because I think in this case with Joanne, her parents are exorbitantly wealthy. She was probably living off of them, and she doesn't want to get cut off from that access of funds. But also, they're also looking at John Wade and saying, listen, the man who marries my daughter, presumably only daughter, we don't know if Drayton has any other kids except maybe Dorothy, right? Yeah. But the man who marries your only child daughter inherits the father's wealth, inherits, what is left behind. So are they going to leave their wealth, their assets to a black man? Or into their black descendants? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah, and I think one of the key issues they were discussing was with kids and stuff as well.
Yeah, because right after that conversation in the study, Drayton walks out there and talks to John Wade Prentice while Christina goes upstairs to talk to Joanne. And there's this funny question that Drayton asks to John. He says, so you're saying the Negroes don't have a natural sense of rhythm? He's like, no, bro, no. Which is still a crazy thing that some people believe in. They believe black people naturally can dance and naturally have, better athletic or physical abilities and stuff like that. But I like that quote that John Wade said. He said, it's our music that we sort of brought from Africa over here, forced to bring over here. And, you can do the Watusi, which was an old school dance where they would do this, but we are the Watusi, which was kind of a very cool quote. Yeah. But then Drayton asks, have you thought about the problems your children will face? And John Wade looks him dead in the eye and says, yeah, they'll have problems and they'll have some, but it will be up to me and Joanne to try to, do our best to prepare them for the problems they'll face and make sure they're upstanding people. And Joanne believes all of our kids will be president of the United States of America.
It will be a colorful parliament.
Colorful administration.
Yeah.
That was an interesting thing to bring up because at that time there was a lot of belief that the children of interracial relationships are psychologically deficient. They believed that they didn't have the cognitive ability as the best or even average people of either race. There was this belief that the interracial unions resulted in a degraded form of person at that time.
That's insane.
Well, psychologists.
Oh my God.
Psychologists.
I am sorry, you guys. Because No, that is insane because, for example, multiculturally, multi-language children are seen to have higher IQs and a better capability of learning because they have to adjust to two situations, to two languages. Now it's proven. Mm-hmm. So I would kind of assume same thing for like mixed race children, that I think their emotional IQ and possibly like social adaptation skills and things like that are higher. And that goes also into cognitive intelligence as well, because they have to look at things from two different perspectives all the time. Maybe, you know, that they have to adapt to two different situations all the time as a baby, and it comes to them naturally.
Well, I would argue that there are no such thing as mixed race children biologically, but there are mixed race children socially. If this story, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, were to take place in Brazil, that question from Mr. Drayton wouldn't even come up, because in Brazil, if you have a child with a white person, no matter your color, that child is white. So he would say, well, have you thought about how your children are going to look at you as a black person rather than, you know, that your children are half white and half black? Race is a social construct in the sense that every country has their own differentiation. You know, in certain countries, I might not be considered black. I might be considered something else. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. But go ahead.
No, I mean, that's why I said like multicultural and not specifically on race. But yeah.
No, it's okay if we have difference of opinion about that. I don't care. And I think a lot of people might actually agree with you more. And plus, you're smarter than me. But I think...
No, I think it's not because like they have genes from different races. It's because of the social environment that they have to grow up in. So, yeah.
Yeah, I got you. And I agree with that, too. I think if you do have, you know... an environment where you have to learn multiple languages and deal with multiple situations, you're going to be a more well-rounded and developed and cultured person, I would argue, than somebody who is not exposed to those things. And I don't believe you have to have, parents of vastly different backgrounds to get exposed to different things and learn new languages. Like, any parent that makes the effort can help their child become, multifaceted. You know what I'm saying? It's just more common to happen amongst a international, interracial, intersocial group coupling, because they bring their different cultures and backgrounds with them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think you already knew that.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I think that conversation, just going back to the movie when they had that conversation, once again, we can see like Joey's rose-colored glasses look, and then John's like realism, which I think it's not exactly like a bad coupling. Like, they kind of maybe balance each other out. But yeah, I think that was also just like relatable for us, or for me at least, about us, because that's kind of a discussion we had before. Like, what are the consequences of bringing another, like, you know, socially disprivileged like person into this world? Because of the white supremacist world. There was a movie we watched called Karen, where, you know, a lot of people bash this movie online, but one of the most powerful scenes is that there's this black couple who moved into this neighborhood, and they're being harassed by their white neighbor, and the black woman says, I don't even want to bring children into this world because it's so hateful. If I do that, am I doing something anti-black by bringing another person who will be racialized as black into this world? That's hateful of us. So that's a very interesting point. Go ahead. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like a kind of constant, you know, dilemma as well, just within us and our ethics and our principles. Like, is it, you know, anti-black to bring another black child into this world, or like mix or black, whatever, or is it like, are we succumbing to, you know, white supremacy by not allowing ourselves to have that joy? You know, those type of things.
Yeah, very. It was a very. That one conversation about children, you know, was very. It opened up, I think, possibly one of the biggest can of worms. You know, and I'm sympathetic to Mr. Drayton because he cares about his child, and you know, later on he starts talking like there are places where they could go where they could be killed for being in their relationship, right? So even if you say, you know, oh, my daughter loves this guy and I kind of like this guy and I do think they would make a cute couple and stuff like that, I don't want my daughter to get murdered because they went to Florida for vacation. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a real thing. I asked you this question last night. If your child came in and said, I want to marry this person, and this person is a world-class doctor, rich, successful, famous, but they're from Gaza and they live in Gaza and they want to get married and go to Gaza, would you, you know, accept? Would you approve? Would you give your blessing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And, I mean, my answer to that was, I would give my blessing because they're going to do it no matter what I say. And I would rather have a good relationship with my son or daughter rather than have none. It is a dangerous situation, so I would give my advice and I would kind of encourage, I guess, not to go. But at the end of the day, it's not really up to me. That's how I view, like, parenting. Okay. That they don't owe me anything, so... If they're adults and if they don't have like mental difficulties, then yeah, like I would most of the time agree with what they want to do in life. It's their life. I can't prison them. So yeah.
So it's up to me to find the excuse. Listen, I think you've only known each other a short time. I think you need to think about it a bit more. Come back in maybe a year or so. And good luck in Gaza. See ya. Bye.
So you're sending them too?
No, I'm sending the guy by.
Oh wow.
Or the girl. Mr. Doctor, it was nice to meet you. You know, free Palestine. Yeah. Good luck out there. See ya. Come here, Fern. All right, but anyway, Joanna and Christina are upstairs talking, and they're having like girl time. And Christina asks, "Girl, how did you meet? What was it like?" And she's talking like, "Oh, Mom, it was so wonderful. We met and we fell in love under the moonlight. It took 20 minutes." And while she's talking, she's like burning her shirt. So her mom says, "You know, give me the iron. I'm gonna do it because you can't focus." And so then the mom asks, "You know, have you been intimate with John?" Oh, I'm sorry, it's too soon to ask. And then Joanne says, "Do you mean have we fucked? Have we had sex?" "No, we didn't."
I really wanted to suck him off.
Well, I really wanted.
He said no.
He said no. And the look on Christina's face. The look on Christina's face. What did you think of that conversation?
For me, like, not, you know, having sex is not a symbol of love. I don't like that mentality, so I don't want to say a lot about that commentary. No. But I do think, like, I can see, like, in general, overall, it's like they raised their daughter to be more liberal than they wanted her to be. So yeah, that was kind of like the messaging I got, and also like her mom, of course, also questioning like, you know, how far did it go, sort of in a way mom would. But
if Joanna was your girlfriend and says she wants to marry this guy she never had sex with, would you say yeah, go ahead?
No.
Exactly.
Like,
so you would disapprove of this marriage too.
I mean, depends, like, did she see it? Like,
no, she never saw it. She's not gonna, who's just gonna whip it out? Like, you think Sidney Poitier is the type to whip it out?
Well, maybe they just made out, and then, you know, there was some grabbing, and if she, like, kind of knows what it feels like, at least, I might say yes, but if they didn't, you know, kiss or anything, then that's problematic. But we know they made out.
I've never asked you this. Does size matter?
No.
Okay, so what? Let's say it's big as hell, but then he's like.
But I think I think for the most part, like, you would know if there is a spark from making out. You would know it. And if there isn't a spark, like, your make-out is not going to be good. And then if there's a spark, your make-out most probably will be good. There might be exceptions.
Yeah.
So for me, you have to go all in. But yeah.
But you still wouldn't approve. You say, "Girl, she's crazy."
But when you said size doesn't matter, size does matter, but not in the way men think it matters. Like, it doesn't have to be a King Kong.
It doesn't have to touch our knees.
No.
It doesn't have to swing to the floor.
But like, if your dick is like this small, then it is kind of a problem. But you can please your woman in other ways, you know. Go small dick king. I don't want to discriminate people.
Wow, like wow. So I'm glad we finally found the one thing that you would oppose them on, though. That they didn't have sex, though. It's not that he's 14 years her senior. It's not the fact that he's been married before. It's not the fact that, you know, they've known each other 10 days. It's the fact that...
If I was a parent, I would, of course, like, consider those points and, you know, be like, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? But, yeah.
I got you. But, yeah, a lot of the conversations that happen in between the white characters, right, are how I imagine they're like as a black person. Because as a black person, you're not privy to those types of conversations when they're, you know, when like Miss Drayton and Mr. Drayton are talking about, you know, who would have thought this would happen, and they say I'm disappointed and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like behind closed doors, you know, when I wasn't there and you were talking to your family or your friends about our relationship, like, was it like that? You know what I'm saying?
No, not really. Like, I remember first time, like, I told my mother about you, and I did say, like, okay, just so you know, like, he is black. And I was on the phone, and we only knew each other, like, for a month. And I was like, yeah, this guy is, like, following me to Turkey.
Okay.
No, I wasn't like that. I was like, you know, I met this guy, I like this guy, and just so you know, like, he's American, he's black. And she was like, okay, like, if you love who you love, and that's fine for us. And then I guess the only kind of conversation that we had about you in that racial sense was, like, me informing them and giving them education about, like, racial dynamics and being, like, you know, even though, for example, you might think this is positive, like saying that he's good in music or something, just assuming, like, these sort of things. It might feel like it's positive, but it's not, and like these sorts of things. And they would question me like, oh, but like, I don't mean anything bad. And I'm like, I know, Mom, but it's like still not cool. Like just these sorts of conversations we had, if that makes sense. Or if they said something like, you know, ignorant, I would correct them and stuff like that.
All right, well, that's good to hear. That's actually much better to hear. And that's the way, you know, that's ideally. I think I got it really easy in the sense that, you know, I married you and your family is, like, open-minded and liberal in the sense. And also that Turkey doesn't have, like, the racial dynamics that America has and stuff like that as well. And
I mean, you know, I was never asked by my mom, like, if we had sex or anything
that's
like
crazy.
That, you know? Or, like, how, like, you know, that was or stuff like that. That never came up.
That's good.
With my mom.
That's kind of good. That's good.
Yeah.
That would feel weird. Like your mom was like, so is it big?
No. No, she never asked that. I mean, you know, actually, like, you know, we don't really have conversations about your race. And yeah, like most of the time it's like about the relationship itself. Like she's always like, are you happy? Is your relationship dynamic good? This sorts of things.
And what do you tell her?
Yeah, I'm happy. We're good.
That's good.
I love my husband.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Okay, we're getting off topic.
No, this is related. Anything talking about our relationship is related to Joanne and John.
Okay.
It's related. You know what I'm saying? It's all related. But, yeah, moving forward in the story, there's like this little short funny scene that some people think is the worst scene in the movie, but I think it's intentional. It's when the meat man comes to deliver some steaks because Joanne asked Tilly to make some steaks for the dinner tonight. And he comes and he's like this young white guy wearing like a leather beret. And he's like dancing like hippie style, like, you know, he knocks on the door and Tilly's like, is this what you call delivering steaks? And he's like, don't ask me about the steaks, man. I'm just doing my job. And then Dorothy comes out and she comes out and dances with a young white guy in front of the house. And obviously it feels like they're flirty type of, you know, romantic interest and stuff like that. I think you thought they were gay.
I thought the guy was gay because, like, here you can see the difference in cultures. If that guy was in Turkey in the 67, he would be dead. They would have shot him. If that's how he like came to pick up the trash or give the meat, whatever, they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing, bro?
Oh my God. But no, I saw that scene as very important because here comes this young white man about to go on a date with this young black girl, and nobody has any objections. Tilly is right there. She sees it, and she's like, okay, bye-bye, I guess. You know what I mean? She lets her daughter run off with the white man, but when the black guy comes, it becomes all hell. Guess who's coming to dinner? You know what I'm saying? But what did you think? Any comments on that?
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't think of that when I first saw the scene because I was like too weirded out by the guy. But yeah, like once you point it out, it does show like the difference in accessibility for white man and black man.
Yeah.
You know,
like throughout American history, white men have had access sexually to all types of women, Native American women, African captured women, and of course the European women as well. And, you know, while their marriages, of course, were illegal too, but their affairs were an open social secret that people just sort of turned the other eye to. You know what I mean? They didn't make a big deal about it. So, yeah, I think that this film goes to show that, you know, interracial relationships only matter to society when it's black men exercising sexual universality. You know, other groups of men, I don't think this film would have been potent had Joanne brought home an Asian man or a Latino man or something like that. But because it's a black man, it makes the most statement, right? Because how blackness is perceived in American society, and I would argue the world. You get what I'm saying?
I mean, I do think it does make the most powerful statement when it's like black and white. But I do think it would make other, you know, nuanced themes and opinions if it was a Latino, if it was a Asian man. So yeah.
All right, but yeah, moving forward in the story, you want to tell the story?
Yeah, I think there was also the part where we got introduced to a new character. A Catholic priest comes into the house. His name is Monsignor Ryan.
I don't know why they just didn't say Father Ryan. Why'd they give him like this fancy French title?
He's sassy.
He is sassy. He's the most sassy character. Anyway, go ahead. Please, because I'm about to get off. I'm about to go off.
Anyway, he's like this kind of funny, quirky guy, and we also find out like that the family is not actually Catholic, but they're very good friends with this priest. And they start sharing their concerns with the priest, and the priest is surprisingly like super open-minded. He actually first meets with John Prentice. He doesn't make any like, you know, weirded out remarks when he finds out that John is Joey's like to-be husband. And he in their conversation he basically points out like the bigotry and sort of two-facedness of Matt Drayton's attitude, like saying, you know, you've been fighting for racial equality, but in your liberal heart, I knew you got some bigotry and things like that. And I think at this time we can also see that Christina Drayton is not opposed to the marriage anymore. She is supporting marriage mostly, she states, because of Joey's happiness. Like she just wants her daughter to be happy, and John is like the perfect man. And that's the reason she confirms it. So she encourages like Monsignor Ryan to talk and persuade Matt Drayton. Yeah,
I love Father Ryan. I'm calling him Father Ryan. I don't know why. He's literally a Catholic priest. There's nothing Italian about him or French. He speaks with an Irish accent. You know what I'm saying? And drinks nothing but scotch and whiskey every time he shows up. So what the fuck calling him Monsieur Ryan? Anyway, that is a flaming queen. That is a whole queen right there. Like that's one of the things that I think people didn't catch at the time. But now we watch it in 2025, we're like, okay, girl.
I mean, I was like, you know, him and Christina Drayton are trying to fuck, but it turns out like he was just his gay bestie.
Yeah, gay bestie. Definitely, you know. gave her makeup tutorial tips and roasted her when she got a little fat. You know what I'm saying? He's the only man that can call her bitch. You know what I'm saying? So, well, yeah, Monsieur Ryan did one of the things. I'll be honest, I almost cried when he said this because he had the one line in the movie that made me cry when Father Ryan is talking to Matt Drayton and he says, I've seen quite a few interracial marriages in my day, and a lot of the times they seem to work out for the best because the couples seem to have to put an extra little effort in it to make it work. And maybe it's the love, maybe it's the, you know, the joy and the pain they have to live with. But, you know, it usually works out quite fine. And the children come out lovely, too. And that really fucking touched me. Like, that hit me, bro. Like, I don't know why. I didn't cry.
Make me cry.
I wetted up a little bit in my eyes. I turned into Christina the entire time of the film. But that was a good line because, like, it goes to show, like, at the end of the day, this love thing is important. Like, you have to love your partner. You have to really care about them to see past what society puts against you. Like, you're willingly choosing to do something that a lot of people really hate. And you say, fuck that. I love this person more than society hates us. Yeah. Which is really dope, I think. Yeah. So I like that line. Any comments?
Definitely. And I think in certain points of like our relationship, I have realized that, but just hearing him say that last night while we were watching it, it reminded me again, like really how much we try to understand each other. And yeah, I think that's definitely true because you are constantly trying to look at the world from another person's perspective because you love them so much and you want to protect them, you want to understand them. You know, and especially I would say when you have kids, because then that translates into your kids. Like if we have a kid, it would mostly be identified as a black person by the society, and I would do anything to understand and protect my kid. Yeah. And the same thing I do for you. So that just like opens up this constant like practice of that empathy, I think does create something extraordinary.
Yeah, it does. And I just want to say once again, thank you because like, you know, to be in a relationship with me in particular is crazy because I'm crazy. But secondly, it's like, yeah, you have to make that extra effort to like think outside of yourself and not get tired of it because it's not like something that only exists in a brief moment. Like, you know, I'm black 24/7, 7 days of the week. You know what I mean? 365 days. And you'll be that way until you'll die. And we want to see this world get better, but it's not guaranteed. You know what I'm saying? And like, you have to just live with that. And you chose to live with that because your love for me is so great. You know what I mean?
Aww.
That's very powerful, you know? Aww. And that, okay.
I wouldn't change it for anyone in the world. We're turning into a bunch of Christinas.
I'm
starting to cry.
This is a good film, man. It's a really good film. And that one line was just very powerful for me. Yeah. But up next, I think, is one of your favorite scenes. So while Father Ryan is out there talking to Mr. Drayton, you know, the lady from the art gallery shows up and says, "Oh, Joanne, I'm so happy to see you. And John as well. Oh, such a wonderful union. I'm just so happy for you two." And Christina says, "What are you doing here, woman?" And she says, "I just came to say hi." And she's like, "Shouldn't you be at the art gallery? Come with me." And
her name is Hillary.
Hillary, yes. Hillary comes. And then when Hillary and Christina step outside the house, Hillary says, "Oh my God, Christina, I feel so bad for you. How will you ever make it through this? What do you plan to do?" And then Christina says, "Come with me, Hillary. Get in the car. I want you to drive to the art gallery. Get rid of everything that reminds me of you. Write a check for $5,000, and I never want to see you again. Drive away." Such a great scene. What did you think of that?
That was so like boss lady, like power of love. That's the true power of love. Like she got so inspired by the love between John and Joey. Yeah. And she was like, "I'm gonna be like the extreme ally. Yeah. Like anyone that says anything bad about my son-in-law is getting fired." You know? And that was like just so cool, like so suave, and just like, you know,
and then
fuck you, like a middle finger.
Then she comes inside and says and tells John, watch out for Joanne. She can be kind of cold-hearted. She gets it from her father, and then walks away. That was such a good line. They don't make movies like that no more.
That was, because Joanne says, like, you should have fired her.
Hillary was being a total bitch, Mom. You should have fired her. Joanne, I would never.
She's so cool.
It was very good. But I like how Christina did that, because she's like, I don't think we're the type of people you can afford to associate with anymore. Implying that, oh, Hillary, you want to be racist? It's going to cost you. If you think you're better than us because, you know, none of your children married black, or you don't have any black people in your family, okay, be better than us, away from us, without your job. You know what I mean? Yeah. So. And I think
just one of the reasons I also like Christina Drayton's character is that we see her grow. Mm-hmm. Like, we see how shocked she is, how, you know, confused she is at the beginning when she finds out that Joey is wanting to marry a black man. Mm-hmm. But then we sort of see her realizing certain things and then overcoming like the societal things and pressures, and then coming at peace with it, and then also going so far to like defend it. Yeah, I think that's for two reasons. Number one, you know, mothers are more sentimental to their children. They have a deeper connection. I would not argue against anybody that mothers care more about their children than fathers. Mm-hmm. That's what I honestly believe. And that might not be scientifically backed up, but I believe that, right? So she cares about her daughter, and if she sees if my daughter is happy, then I'm going to be happy for her, and I'm going to support her, right? And secondly, as a feminist, I think, you know, Christina is like, the undertone is all stupid. The idea that children, specifically daughters, have to have, you know, a man consent to them marrying is inherently, once again, anti-feminist and anti-free for women. So I think, to some degree, Christina, and as we'll see later, John's mom, both say, yeah, the marriage is cool. We're okay with it. Yeah. It's just these men who don't want to give up power. Yeah. So do you think this film is a feminist film to some degree? As much as it can be, yes. Mm-hmm. At that time. Mm-hmm. I do think, like, it does give a certain, like, freedom to young women. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because, like, yeah, I guess, like, later on we might talk about more, but when Christina is sort of defending this marriage to Matt, he says, like, you know, I think you're forgetting something, mm-hmm. even though you're underestimating your young daughter's power mm-hmm. of wanting, you know, wanting whatever she wants and getting it. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing also, I think, with a lot of parents, that they are underestimating the free will of their children. Mm-hmm. Like, to a certain point, no matter what they do, even if they don't speak to their children anymore, even if they take all the money, it's still, these are free people with free will. Yeah, just to give a quick Marxist analysis real quick, you know, the relations between family are based upon the economic conditions of society. If we lived in a more traditional, feudal type society, you know, parents were in control of their children because they were seen as ways to pass down property rights and things like that. But now that we live in this, you know, production economy and also service economy, people have more freedom in their relation to labor and also into property and rights and stuff like that. So now children aren't as beholden to their parents, but we still passed on this old tradition of whether parents have to consent to the marriage and the father has to agree to the daughter being sent away and stuff like that. So there's a lot that's that I think is tied to this in relation to how the family has changed. Mm-hmm. You know, this film is about the changing family dynamics. And if individuals become more free, then families have to become less restrictive, is also what the film is saying. But in relation to labor and property, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I can see that. All right, but moving forward in the film, there's like this kind of funny side quest scene when
Mr. Drayton and Christina go out on the town, and they say, I need to go get some ice cream. And so Mr. Drayton drives off in his little car. He's like a little tiny old man. This is when he first looks old. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so while he's driving his little car, they pull up to this ice cream shop that's like a drive-through, and all the hip kids are out there in their cars listening to their goddamn rock and roll. And the little girl comes up and says, what do you want? And he says, I ate something here before, but I don't remember what it was. And she says, like, bunch of flavors, but then she says, Oregon boysenberry. He's like, that's the one. I remember that. I liked that back in the day. And so she comes and brings it. Christina, of course, on a diet. She orders a black coffee.
Yeah, she's on a death diet.
Death diet. Maintaining my figure, darling. And so, yeah, the waitress comes and, he eats his Oregon boysenberry and he says, I never had this before, but I kind of like it. That's very good. And yeah, the lady comes and says, sure, Grandpa. Okay, that'll be $3.02, whatever. And as they're backing away out of the driveway, Matt Drayton hits a black man in his car, right? Like, hits another black man's car. And the guy gets out and starts yelling at him. He's like, what are you doing, old man? It's going to cost me $40. And Matt Drayton says, here's $50. Buy a new one. And the black guy continues yelling at him. There should be a law against you old folks in society. And all the white folks in the crowd just clap for the black man that just yelled at this white man. What'd you think of that scene?
That was like kind of a weird side quest, I would say, because certain points were on the nose, like him trying the new ice cream and then liking it. Like, it's, I can learn to like something that is new. Like, oh my God. That part was a bit cheesy.
It is on the nose.
I did like him, like, seeing with the people, because so far we've seen them in their mansion, with their maid and all of that. And I think also in that conversation there was something that I liked that Christina said, that she said, like, I remember the first time we were together, and those times that we were struggling at that time, it felt like it was a lot. But now looking back at it, I think those the times, like, I helped you, I was there for you, and you needed me. Now I feel like those are the most important and best parts of our relationship. And when she said that, I was like, that was also, like, very emotional for me, because I was like, okay, like, we're struggling right now, and maybe one day we will look back at it and see it like the best times of our lives, even though it might not seem like that now. So let's enjoy, like, right now, It made me feel that type of way. And then with the car crash, like, I don't know, I guess it was kind of hinting, like, this generational difference for me a bit. And it was also telling a bit, like, oh, the new generation doesn't care as much about, like, race as before. Maybe just, like, by the surroundings and how they were hanging out. Which we know that is not true. Because that generation grew up and
voted for Trump.
Yeah.
Everybody in that video who's still alive definitely voted for Trump. All those old white folks back then. Oh, God. Go ahead.
But, yeah, like, it was, I guess, also, like, another way of just seeing Matt interacting with other black people who are not as perfect as John. But it also made me think, like, what if this guy that was fighting him wanted to marry his daughter? He would definitely say no. If he's thinking so much about John, then that's what I was kind of thinking, But yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and I didn't really give my take on this, but yeah, like how John Wade is so composed and poised and not quick to anger, doesn't do anything out of pocket that doesn't seem calculated. Meanwhile, you have a regular black dude who shows up in the film, and this is our first time seeing another black man on the screen, and he's angry and irrational at a time that we would understand to be irrational. Like, your car just got hit. Yeah. He probably worked hella hard for it and stuff like that. So that's normal and stuff like that. But yeah, that type of guy juxtaposed to John seems night and day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And yeah, like you were saying about the ice cream, yeah, that's very on the nose. Like, oh, I can try something different and learn to grow, learn to like something new. But the scene when all the white people clapped, I think that was trying to highlight how society is like changing in their dynamics about like, you know, they're not always just going to take the side of the white guy. I think it's more than just being like not racist. It's the fact that, oh yeah, you know what? Now's the time for the black man to stand up and fight for his rights. That's like the way people were like thinking back then. Like society, some liberal people were like, you know what it's time for? Black supremacy. You know what I'm saying? that's
funny.
That is like, you know, I'm not saying everybody was thinking that. I'm just saying that's what I think the film was hinting at, like a little fringe idea. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I don't know. But meanwhile, John Wade is on the phone with his parents. They call back, and his parents say, hey, John, what if we come up there to see you in San Francisco? We could be up there by the evening. And John's like, no, Mom, Dad, you don't have to do all that. But Joanna's right there, and she says, tell them to come to dinner. Tell them to come. So she picks up the phone and says, can you be here by 6:30? And so they're like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so John is like, what have you done? I haven't told them you're a colored girl. And she says, well, you better do it, John Wayne, because you don't want to be pussy.
Okay.
She does. She basically is testing this man's like manhood the entire time.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I said like I mean, you said she might be on the spectrum in terms of like social cues, but she's also wearing like these rose-colored glasses because she's like, I don't understand what's the big deal about it.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, you know, me taking you to the whitest place ever and then being like, I don't understand why you're so uncomfortable.
I'm in Klan country.
So it's a bit annoying, honestly, because it feels like, does she not understand how, like, he feels? But I think in a way, John likes that childishness, pure side of her.
A little bit.
And I think it also, after, you know, we met John's parents as well, it kind of shows like these different dynamics between white families and black families. But at the same time, it shows that they're not so different either. Yeah,
a little bit different. And it's definitely a class movie as well because, you know, we find out that John's dad was a postman all of his life. You know what I mean? And John ended up becoming the president of Negroes around the world. You know what I mean? And so, it's like, you know, when John's parents are coming, now we also get introduced to more, you know, black people on screen and also people of a very different socioeconomic class, you know? So there's that as well. There's also a very funny scene when, you know, John is like getting dressed for dinner after taking a shower and Tilly bursts into the room and says, listen, I know you think you're coming in here with all your black power, radical, uppity Negro stuff, but I'm on to you, John Wade, and let me tell you another thing. You're not even all that good looking. And slams the door in his ass. What'd you think of Tilly going off on him like that?
Yeah, I did not like, you know, Tilly being that aggressive towards John because it didn't feel as realistic.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, she might be uncomfortable. Maybe she doesn't like him. Maybe it's this or that. But I don't think she'd be like that openly hostile about it. I don't know. It just felt weird when you're also like a maid in a family that's uber liberal and open, supposedly, at least towards her. But once again, we don't know her past.
Yeah.
So yeah, that felt a bit like unrealistic.
I trust black women's instincts a little bit. So here I'm going to finally drop it. My major theory for this film is that John Wayne Prentice is actually a top-tier Nigerian scammer. And so Tilly knows that hairline. She looked at that hairline and said, boy, he not like us. There's something off about this nigga. I don't know what it is, but I smell it. So John Wayne Prentice is not who he says he is. He is a top-tier scammer. That's what I'm thinking. And that's what Tilly knew.
I'm not entertaining this theory.
I think it's a solid theory looking at this film. And that's why he's so hesitant for his parents to come, because the scheme almost blew up.
They are not from Africa. They are from United States of America. And they don't have a Nigerian accent.
Okay, maybe he's not actually Nigerian, but the fact is he might be a scammer. But he's pulling off the highest level scam of all time. Okay. And everything has to be perfect.
There's nothing in that movie that alludes to that. Just because of Tilly.
It's just the fact that he is so perfect. If something is too good to be true,
It's probably is not.
It's probably not true. The man was graduated summa cum laude from Harvard, Cambridge, and Yale. He became the World Health Organization CEO at the young age of 25. He cured cancer in Africa. He does lectures in Geneva, Switzerland, and
Hawaii.
And Hawaii. Like, come on, bruh. But it also explains why Barack Obama is his father. I'm pretty sure Barack Obama watched this film and was like, Daddy. Like, with his finger on the screen. Because think about it. Like, they met in Hawaii. Older black man who always wears a suit, even in the summer, meets this young, wide-eyed white girl who's studying in Hawaii. That's basically Barack Obama's, like, origin story.
Wow.
That really is.
That is.
It's so crazy.
They are Barack Obama's parents.
They are Barack Obama's parents. Yes, indeed. But no, it makes sense because Barack Obama's dad was a Kenyan scammer.
Wow.
So
how do you know if Barack Obama's father was a scammer?
He was not a Kenyan scammer, but he was Kenyan. So he definitely did at least 1 or 2 scams.
Stop.
His birthday was January 1st, 1945.
I can't.
I'm sorry.
Was that true?
No.
You just made it up.
He was from Kenya, that's for sure.
I know that. I meant the birthday.
The birthday thing, no. But when we went to Norway, some of the African brothers are like, a lot of us don't know our birthdays. So my father's birthday is January 1st, 1972.
I mean, to be honest, my grandmother is like that.
Her birthday is January 1st.
No, she has 2 birthdays because they put the wrong birthday.
Wow.
They just like rounded up and put like the 1st of May or something.
That's insane.
And then she was actually born in 15th of May or something.
Okay. Interesting. Anyway, pick up on the story for us.
Okay, so yeah, they're gonna go pick up John's parents from the airport, but there's also this scene before that where they meet Joey's friends. Mm-hmm. And they go at a bar. It's a very brief scene, but I don't remember what they were talking about.
They were talking about, oh, we're happy for you getting married, Joanne. Her friends are cool with it. Friends seem to be the same age as her. And they say, John has to travel to Geneva, Switzerland the next day.
Oh, yeah.
And so Joanna's like, why don't I go with you? And, John is like, I don't know about that, which leads more to my theory. He is a top-tier scammer. He's like, no, something's up. Something's up with this man.
He doesn't want it because if her parents don't approve, of course, like, the ticket is going to be burned.
But he knew they were going to approve because he pulled a level 5 scam option, give people an ultimatum and make it feel like it's their choice. But then
God.
guilt them for guiding them. Guilt them and guide them towards the right choice.
That is insane. He's not a scammer.
I used to work in telemarketing sales, and those are the types of tactics we use. You would say, would you want to take the money or do you want to leave? The choice is yours. But if you don't take the money, that's $50,000 you left on the table. Now, you tell your wife, John, that you left $50,000 on the table.
Oh, my God. This is a Hollywood movie. I can't even talk.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway, they go into the airport, and, John's parents come in and they greet him, and then John is like trying to say before Joey shows up, but he couldn't, and then Joey shows up and the parents are shocked. John's father is like just like this, like his jaw is to the floor, and his mother is also shocked. They can't say anything, and I think also there Joey drops like the truthful, uncomfortable comment as well. Yes. I don't remember.
I think she said, I think you're surprised because I'm white. Something like that.
Yeah. And then anyway, they get into the car and they're talking about like how did, Joey's parents react, and Joey's saying like they were uncomfortable, but it doesn't matter. We're going tonight to Switzerland to get married. And they're also like, especially John's father is like, I think it's like acceptable for us to be shocked as well. Like, it's such a short time. I would need 8 hours to list all the reasons why you couldn't get married, and like those type of things. Yeah. And they end up coming to the house. Also, Monsignor Ryan is there as well. And the first interactions are like, nice. They're asking how was their flights and all of that. Everybody's avoiding the elephant in the room. And and I think that's when Christina takes Mrs. Prentice away to the balcony, says like, oh, we should talk, and I'm gonna tell her show her the view. And they basically Christina tells Mrs. Prentice that her husband is not okay with this marriage because previously they have a talk, and then Matt Drayton says, I'm not going to approve of this marriage, and I'm going to tell John Prentice that. And they have this heart-to-heart conversation where they find out that they both agree that this marriage is good, but their husbands don't. What did you think about that?
That was a very moving scene. I like Miss Prentice a lot. You know what I'm saying? I really like her character, the way she's poised as well. She really seems like a good balance to like John Wade's character as well. Like I like how they make the parents seem like they have the characteristics that instilled the type of qualities that made John Wade who he is, which goes to show, I think, that it doesn't matter how much money you have or where you come from or what you look like. If you have good character, you can make a good child and a good person. You know what I'm saying? Because both of them came across like very, respectable, astute people, like respectable in the truest sense of the word. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I really liked how, Miss Prentice was like, I never imagined that John would do such a thing, but I can't say I'm surprised. When he was young, he was the leader of the Young Republicans in his high school. John has always been a bit of a coon.
No, she does not do that.
She said, Miss Prentice is like going in on her son. She was like, John was obsessed with whitening soap at 7.
That does not happen. That did not happen. Stop. No.
He used to turn his nose up at all the Negro records we would bring to the house and wouldn't dance the Watusi.
Okay. Those things are like...
Oh my God. Because the way she said, I'm not surprised, it's like, damn.
I like that. I mean, did she say I'm not surprised?
Yes, she said.
I don't remember that.
She did say. She said, I didn't think it would happen, but I'm not surprised.
Okay.
Those are her exact words, I promise you.
Okay. I mean, okay, then that changes my thoughts. Then I'm not saying anything.
He voted for Richard Nixon in the last election.
All these American jokes.
Oh, God. He supports the Vietnam War.
Stop it.
He thinks Martin Luther King is too radical. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please. Stop me.
Okay.
Stop
I'm
me.
trying to.
But
anyway,
yeah.
What happened?
Oh, Mr. Drayton and Mr. Prentice have a conversation in the study. And, Mr. Prentice is like, I did a lot for that boy, and I don't support this at all, and I'm sure you see all the ways that this marriage is wrong. And Mr. Drayton's like, I do see, and I do agree, and I think, we'll find a way to talk to them out of this situation and stuff like that. So, yeah, any comments on that?
I was sort of like expecting Mr. Prentice to stand up for his son because his son is an exceptionally well person. But I guess it goes to show both like the Prentices were also kind of wanting their son to marry someone like their own. Someone who can maybe understand him better, who can share his struggles and things like that.
And also keep him safe. I would argue that I think a lot of these parents are just worried about John's safety and Joanna's safety. You know what I mean? Because there's a high probability they could get killed going somewhere doing what they're doing.
Yeah, that is true. And that is a valid point. But I think at the end of the day, if those two people can decide that they are willing to take the risk, then I don't think it leaves much for them to say. I
mean, nobody wants to see their children hurt or killed. If you heard your child was going to climb Mount Everest naked, and they say, Mom, no, it's possible. We can do it. There are other people that have done it. You would still be worried.
Okay. Also, at the same time, nobody will willingly die.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody's willingly dying. That's not what I'm making the point out. The point is they want to do something that's dangerous and exceptional.
I understand, but would you put yourself in a dangerous situation knowing that you will get killed?
Knowing I will get killed or knowing I might get killed?
Knowing there's a high possibility of you getting killed or hurt.
Not every situation I would do that, no. But in certain situations I would. Like, I would still want to marry you if we were in 1967.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like there is, I think, degree to the danger you would put yourself in. And I feel like that threshold is lower for parents because they are the ones who, like, took care of the child and basically brought the child into the world from a baby to an adult. And for the person itself, that might seem like more manageable. And that might be true.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So I think that's kind of like the point they're missing. But I was kind of surprised how the same, like, how they were two same with, like, Mr. Prentice and Matt Drayton.
This is the thing that I think actually changes Matt Drayton's mind. It's the conversation he has with Mr. Prentice and not Miss Prentice. Because right after Matt Drayton talks to Mr. Prentice, he goes outside and talks to Miss Prentice. And she says, you know, when men get old and they no longer can do sexual things, they forget what love is. And that scene feels like it's the most impactful. But I actually think when he talks to Mr. Drayton and he says, are you some kind of nut? You're going to let your little white daughter marry my big black son? Something like that. And then Matt Drayton realizes, oh, I have to be better than the ignorant Negro here. And I feel the worst treated person in this film is, number one, Tilly, but secondly, Mr. Prentice. Because he gets kind of scolded and looked down upon by Matt Drayton, and then also his own son later. But what do you think about that theory? That's my theory of the film.
I did not see that. Is it impossible? No. But I did not see it when I watched it. I did think that, like, his conversation, Matt Drayton's conversation with Mrs. Prentice was the changing point for him. Because I felt like she's a smart woman. Her saying that, like, just gave his ego a little crack. And then he said, I'll be damned if I'm seen as, like, this unpassionate, you know, forgotten to love guy. Because I love my wife, goddammit.
And I also love that big black booty on Tilly. And I think really Miss Prentice, when she was talking all that, when men no longer do sexual things like they do with their black housemaids when Christina's away on a girlish trip, when they can no longer do those things, they forget what love is. Isn't that right, Mr. Drayton? You get what I'm saying? I think maybe Miss Prentice knew.
She did not meet Dorothy.
And she didn't meet Dorothy, but she might have saw Tilly. I think she saw Tilly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think she kind of know what the game is.
I think that's like reading too far into
it. Maybe even if she didn't read too far, her saying that resonated with Matt Drayton because he knows he did some wrong by sleeping with his mistress, getting her pregnant, and then denying that child. So now he has to come to terms with, like, yo, this is what happened. Karma comes back in many ways, and boy, is it a bitch.
So he said, like, I'm not going to repeat my mistake.
No, he said, I got to face up and get my consequence. Okay. I got to take this lick. I slept with my maid. So now
this is making it too painful for me.
How's it making it painful? I mean, that's my theory. I have a grand theory, but that's my theory.
Yeah, I can see it. For me, it's just like reaching. I can most definitely see the theory with Dorothy, but I don't know, like, how far I can reach into, like, his decisions around it. Obviously it would have some effect, but yeah, I kind of left that theory there.
I got you.
But anyway, so what happens next?
Let's get to the most impactful scene, one of the most. It's when John Wade confronts his father. And his father is like, you know, son, you can't be doing this. You know, I lifted that mailbag for 74,000 kilometers to raise you, and your mother went without to make sure that you could have books and school material and be who you're supposed to be right now. And then and then John Wade just starts to blow up on him and is like, shut up, old man. You can't tell me how to live my life. I don't care if you walked that mailbag 1,000,000 miles. You did what you're supposed to do because you brought me into this world. And I owe you nothing I owe you nothing, old man. And so then he said, you need to get off my back, brother. And
he said something like, we will never be free until the old generation gets off our back.
Now, he said, what do you think? How do you interpret that quote? He told his father, we will never be free until your whole generation dies. How do you interpret that?
I don't think that's fair to say to an older person in any context. Because, yeah, there are a lot of older people with very bad ideas, bigoted ideas, etc., etc., but there are also a lot of them that paved the way for us. So I don't think you can just like disregard a whole nation like that. Especially if they are like your parents.
But old people still, have regressive thoughts and views. I'm sure in Turkey, the majority of AKP supporters are older Turks.
Yeah, of course. And I'm not like, I'm not defending them. But also, like, my parents are older generation. Also, my grandmother is an older generation, and she's not like that. So that's why I said, especially the person who raised you well, you cannot really say that to them. Like, if your parents weren't a role model for you and showed you how to stand up for yourself as a black man in America, then maybe you wouldn't be the person that you are today. So, and also, like, just in general, what that generation did for example, Black Power, Black Liberation, and everything.
That quote bothered me for many reasons, but the first one is that it's not true. Of course, as we see these young white boys out here, like in the video we were watching yesterday, Mehdi Hassan versus 20 right-wing Republicans. These young white boys are turning up saying, yeah, I'm a fascist. I'm a full-on fucking Nazi. You can call me a Nazi if you want. I'm not offended. Like, okay, that's the first thing. Second thing, he said your generation, and then he goes on later to say, you look at yourself as a colored man. I'm just a man. And I wish his father said, shut up, nigga. But I think when he said your generation, he's talking about older black people. And I did not like that. I did not like the disrespect of the ancestors, the elders, and stuff like that. I don't like it. I'm old school. I'm old school with it. I don't like it.
No, I don't like it either. Like, there's a reason why we celebrate history.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you celebrate Black History Month. And also same for, like, Turkish people.
Right. But there, at the time, and this is a foreign concept right now, I would say, but at the time, there was this thinking like, okay, black people have been oppressed for a long time and sort of beaten into subservience. You know what I mean? And like the same way that here in Hungary, they talk about Romanis and gypsies, and I hate that term. That's how they used to talk about black people. They used to say, oh, they're just sort of naturally like that. And even if they were created that way by society, that's unfortunate, but that's just who they are. They have a subservient, looking down at the floor mentality. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And there's nothing that can be done to change that. And, here comes Sidney Poitier, John Wade's character, saying, like, listen, I'm the new Negro. We're a different generation. We're not like you. We're not just going to let the white folks do whatever to us, etc. And we're going to be something different. You know what I'm saying? And y'all need to die and make way for us. And I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I didn't like that way of thinking. You know what I'm saying?
I understand, like, maybe also Tilly is an example of that as well. Like, that generation who was stuck in the transition, a lot of, like, social and political transition might have like the sort of Stockholm syndrome, but at the same time, like, back then, okay, John Prentice's generation was the new, high freedom level generation, but now we look at that generation and say, like, they are fucked up.
They're old.
They're old and stuff like that. Like, our parents are from John Prentice's generation, possibly had the same beliefs and ideas of John Prentice, but now we look back at them and say, oh, they're thinking outdated.
Right, exactly.
So I think, like, it's a cycle. I think it's natural. I don't think there's anything wrong with criticizing a different generation, but I think it should be done in a respectful manner.
If you remember, we watched that film Holiday Heart And remember when Holiday Heart, he was asked about pride, and he said, I do my business in the closet. And I don't like to go out there with pride with all those other gay folks raising hell and ruckus. Yeah. There's such a thing as being a respectable gay man and stuff like that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I felt like a little bit, like that was so cringe in Holiday Heart. And that was a bit cringe in this film with our way of thinking, like now in 2025, with him saying, y'all need to die, and I'm not a colored man, I'm just a man. And like, come on, bro, like you can strive for that. Yes, we're all men, but don't disrespect the ancestors, and also acknowledge the way you're being treated right now by this family shows that you're not just a man, you're a colored man. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It doesn't really depend on like how you... Yeah, there is some effect, I guess, to how you define yourself.
And carry yourself.
But it also, like, depends on the society as well. And I guess, like, just to round it all, like, yeah, that scene was definitely hurtful for me, like, or painful for me to watch.
Yeah.
Because I do think there's something to take from every generation, and there are some things to erase from every generation, but not the whole thing.
It also bothered me, like, Tilly and John Prentice are like the two openly like bigoted characters in the film. And this film that's about how this black man is having it hard to marry his white girl that he loves makes the two most racist characters in this film black people. You know what I'm saying? That's so annoying.
Yeah,
they make black people the villain in a film about racism.
Yeah, it is a bit annoying because I was thinking that at the very end and thinking like, okay, John Prentice's father is like the only bad guy left. Yeah. Because like everyone else agreed.
In a film about racism, the black man still has to die. Yeah. He still has to be the villain. That John Prentice father senior, he's such a bad guy. Racist son of a bitch. And Tilly too, that black bitch. He's so racist. That's how people left the movie theater in 1967. Wow. And that really bothers me how, like, I get those comments all the time. The only real racist people left are black people. Like God, it's so annoying.
That is very annoying.
It's so annoying. Like, how do you even respond to that? Like, you don't even know where to start. Like,
that's like saying, like, green is actually red.
Yeah. The real true feminists are just real men. The traditional man was the realest feminist.
Because they protected women.
Yeah, and the anti-feminists are the women that, are protesting and shit, They're anti. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's get to the end of the
final scene. You explain it. Go ahead.
So basically Matt Drayton has this conversation with Mrs. Prentice, and inside John is having this conversation with his father. And he ends up, like, on a nice note saying, like, look, I love you, you're my father, but I guess, like, I shouldn't really listen to you. And he tries to end it on a positive note. And, while all of this is happening, I think there was that part where John realizes that he actually made a mistake by giving an ultimatum. Because he gave the power to the parents. And
I don't think he realized he made a mistake. He confronted Drayton and said, "Oh, you couldn't tell me to my face like a man? You were going to hide? Pussy."
I think he realized it when he talked to Monsignor Ryan. Because, I think he said along the lines of, like, I think the saddest part is that you're willing to give up Joey because if they say no. And then that's when I think he realized that that's where he made the mistake. But anyway, Matt Drayton, he's out on the terrace and he's like, I'll be damned. And then comes inside. Everyone is like, it gathers everyone and tells everyone to shut the hell up and start like doing his final monologue speech where he's saying like, he's basically summarizing the whole situation. He's saying like, I've been called a nut and all these things. My best friend called me a bigot and all of that, and this is what I've been thinking about, this is what I've been worried about. But at the end of the day, if you truly do love each other, there's nothing I can do to actually stop you, and there's nothing really left for me to say. I won't be in your way, and you are free to marry, and we will convince Mr. Prentice.
That was so whack.
That was whack. It's like this whole like 5-minute monologue.
Oh my God, it's so bad how they made the movie end with like, don't worry, we'll convince the big bad black man to accept your marriage. Like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck? That I would have been in the theaters throwing popcorn at the screen and shit. Like, what the fuck is that? Yeah, that was his final speech was moving, other than that part and other this plot of the movie. You know what I mean? But I really like his final speech. The directing of it is good. The acting of it is good. How he gathered everybody there. It is a little bit of a textbook example white saviorism.
Yeah.
It's very white saviorish. Like, let me come to the rescue and save the day in a situation that has nothing to do with me, really.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was expected.
Yeah, it was the time.
Yeah.
Right? I think a more fitting and powerful ending would have been if Joanna stood up. Here's how I would remake the film in 2025. Joanna stands up and says, listen, I came here, after being raised by two beautiful people who taught me to not care about racism. But growing up in America, you can't help but see racism all around you. And the fact that my father owns a multi-million-dollar company where many of the poorest workers in the company are black and brown and stuff like that. And my mom has had a black woman working in the kitchen her entire life. And my mom has never lifted a finger for even a fork and all this type of stuff. Even though they told me race didn't matter, color doesn't matter, I've seen how race affects people's lives throughout my life. And I want to live my life as free and truly to the ideals my parents gave me by marrying this man who I love, who so happens to be black. So while Dad, you might not agree, Mom, you might not agree, I'm going to live my life and, do my best to try to contribute to make a better world, right? I thought that would have been a more powerful ending in 2025. What do you think?
I think she's not capable of making that speech because that's not how she sees it.
Okay.
Because I find it a bit hard, like, that she is able to recognize some of the struggles John is, like, experiencing. And I think she will. Like, I'm not saying that to, like, make her look bad. I think it's just because of her privilege. Obviously, she's probably known, like, about some protests or things that happen in America, but I don't think she personally, like, experienced anything like that by being in close proximity. But I think, in the future, supposedly, if they get married, when they get married, she will learn. Because, it's not like...
I think Joanna is smarter than she comes across, and she is aware of the difference in class and race, right? She's had black people in her life all around, and she grew up in America and knows about what's going on around. I think, she's more woke than we want to give her credit.
Oh, she's woke, all right. I just don't think she has... I just don't think she's exactly coming where you're saying you're coming from.
Right. I just want to give agency back to the woman who started this whole thing and take it away from the hands of the white man who basically says, black man, I give you the approval of having sex with my daughter. Like,
I mean, I would have preferred it too. I wouldn't have mind if Joanna did the speech. I just don't think she would make the exact same speech that you did. Yeah. Something
like that. I just think that would have been more powerful. This movie is problematic if you think about it and analyze the situation. You know what I mean? In a lot of ways. But at the end of the day, I think also it's just a beautiful film and it's still touching on a superficial level without turning your deep mind on and critical analysis. It's still a very beautiful film. So,
It is.
Yeah. But my final commentary on this is that, if you want to be a bit conspiratorial, analyze the scenes with Dorothy, again, to have a more fun viewing experience. Think about John Wade Prentice as a traveling snake oil salesman who just so happened to luck up and fall into a major scam plot, right? He's like, oh, I can marry the richest daughter of a California magnate. What? Okay. Yeah. John Wade Prentice here, doctor. You know what I mean? High-level scamming. Also think about what a sequel might be. I imagine a sequel that deals with... that does not have Ashton Kutcher and Zoe Saldana in it. Guess Who? The 2004. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really bad. I can imagine a sequel where the children of John and Joanna grow up rich, but then their kid marries a person of a lower class. I think that will be an interesting sequel if anybody wants to do that. And yeah, my final score for this film was like a 9.5. 9.5. Really love this film. But yeah, any comments?
Yeah. I guess kind of similar to the beginning, but I really enjoyed watching this movie. Though I think once you watch this movie, you should sit down and have a conversation about this movie because it does bring out these other themes. It brings out flaws of the movie, ideologically or just like, I don't know, plot holes and things like that. And like people can come up with, I think, different theories. It is definitely a fun movie to play around with.
Definitely.
And yeah, I would definitely recommend everybody to see this movie, but in a critical eye. I give it an 8. That would be my final score. I was gonna say something. Oh, for the sequel, I want Dorothy's World.
Dorothy's World? Yeah.
Dorothy's Adventure. Or Tilly. Either one of those. Or together, I guess, because they're a mother and daughter.
Yeah. I mean, the film could be explored through the eyes of Dorothy because she basically goes off and has an interracial date, around San Francisco. So you could make a whole movie about, while this is happening in this rich mansion where the bourgeoisie people are fighting over who's going to marry the daughter, here's this little black girl running around the city with this white guy. What's that like for an evening? Yeah. What do they experience? Can they walk into the same restaurants? Can they go to the same parts of the movie theater? You know what I mean? Are they getting harassed when they're walking outside holding hands? You know what I mean? There's a whole other story that's happening from the opposite lens of that time. And Dorothy's World is actually really dope. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
See, I told you she's smart.
But yeah, that's it. I think we talked a lot about this movie, so I don't want to make it stretch it out.
One last thing, the guy who played the father, Spencer Tracy, he was in a relationship with Katharine Hepburn for 27 years. And he died 17 weeks or so after this film finished production. And Katharine Hepburn, who recently died only about 2 or 3 years ago, said she never watched this film because it was so hard to watch, the man she loved, struggling like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
That's just trivia, but Katharine Hepburn died in 2003. So.
Oh, I thought she died in 2023.
No.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
But yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said 2023. Either way, great performance from her. Excellent stuff here. And this movie feels so real, man. It's so real. And I would watch it again. I would probably revisit this film in 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a movie that is not stuck in time. And you can see this movie happening today. You can see worse scenarios happening today related to interracial marriage and interracial couples and things like that.
Yeah.
So definitely give it a go.
Give it a go. All right. Well, this has been episode 126 of Simon and Acting Movie Reviews. If you have a film you think we should review, put it in the comments section. We'll try to get to it. And remember, you got to give a little, take a little, have your little heart break a little. That's the glory of, that's the story of love. There we go.